everyone, how you doing? I hope you're fine. I hope you're well. For me, if you follow me on my socials, like I've been like maybe I'll share more about it in the next video that I do. But to any of you who are feeling down, feeling like you are unhappy but you don't know what to do, you have no control, I guess this video is for you. So a couple of weeks ago I released a video talking about, finding the secret to happiness in Finland, where I got my life coach to share about his thoughts and insights about what does it mean to find happiness in life, why are people so unhappy with their lives, how to actually just find that internal alignment and peace in your life. And there was a lot of gold. He shared amazing stuff, but that was just a fraction of the conversation that we had. And I thought to myself, like, you know what, like, I'm just gonna share this because I feel that, whatever he shared was just super valuable. So I'm going to release this whole interview with you guys, and hopefully it helps you to find some, not say answers, but just find some relief and helps to plant some seeds to whatever you're going through in life. So here it goes. Okay, dookie, looking cozy.
Hi.
Hi guys.
Hi guys.
So this is Dan, superhuman and a super coach. He's an amazing person and also has been my life coach, which has planted a lot of important and beautiful seeds.
Thank you.
In my life. This guy is, I guess because this vlog is about, finding happiness in Finland, and just in your own words, like, how do you define finding happiness and joy in life?
I think happiness is something that will look very different from person to person. And my definition of happiness is really, at the end of the day, a form of when you can find pure, unadulterated, honest alignment with yourself, meaning what's happening on the outside matches what's on the inside. Your actions, your behavior, things on the surface, your relationships, the work that you're engaged with, how you make a living, how you make money, how you contribute to the world, they are all very aligned to all your deepest inner desires and wants and passions. And when you have that alignment, naturally, it will unlock a wealth of happiness that cannot be taken away from you. Once you have that, I think you can be very grounded in your happiness, and it's not something that you chase anymore. It's not something that is elusive anymore. It is very true to you, and you get to define what that is. How can you get true alignment is you first have to know what is it that you want. I think that's the piece that's a little bit tricky for some people. A lot of us have been conditioned by our external, the people around us, the environment, the media that we've been fed, what our peers are doing. And they are so normalized that sometimes we do not question those definitions of what happiness should look like, what success should look like. So we end up really trusting that this definition is good for us. If it's good for everybody else, it must be good for us. Are all these desires, do they belong to someone else instead of me? Are these my desires, or did I inherit them through osmosis? Other than alignment, it is a feeling of coming home. It's like coming home to yourself, being really comfortable in your own skin, as if everything feels like oxygen and water and light, and there isn't so much, or nothing is performative. You're not performing a role, you're just being yourself and being really, really grounded and rooted in that with a sense of safety and security. I think that really is unadulterated happiness and joy. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, guys. Man, that was like freaking everything. It's so perfectly described.
Mm-hmm. But
it makes so much sense.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sell something that is so far out of reach.
Yes.
It's a very simple idea, but simple doesn't mean it is easy. So I think that, like I say, the work is really doing a lot of the reflection and the being very curious and inquisitive, and in having the audacity and the courage to poke holes at our comfort, because sometimes we can get very comfortable in life, but comfort doesn't necessarily transform into happiness or joy. We're just very comfortable, which is why this is great, because you're getting out of your comfort zone. This is exactly what we're doing, right? We're poking holes at comfort, right? So we stretch and we push the edges so that we can take shape in this world and we can become the shape of who we truly are.
I was also going to ask you, because a lot of people don't even know their internal alignment.
Yeah.
How do I even find what I truly want? I don't even know, right? So that was an amazing point. Sounds very simple, like just be happy, Yeah, lor, just find internal alignment, lor.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, many months ago, I mean, all my life, like just, I just want to find internal alignment.
That's
but-
what we want, right?
but how? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of unhappy people in the world.
Yeah.
And from your coaching,
Mm-hmm.
group, either group or individual coaching, what is the number one source of unhappiness from people?
I think, especially for Singaporeans, which forms the bulk of my clients, most of them struggle with very practical issues of making a livelihood, making a sustainable livelihood, having this pressure and stress to check all the boxes and live life according to a textbook that has been like a manual. I call it a manual that has been written with all the obligation and expectations and the rules and regulations that either you have written for yourself or you have written for other people. And this manual is so thick. Okay, it has got all the expectations for how other people should behave, how you should behave, how a marriage should look like, how a job should look like, how a perfect life should look like, right? And we don't even qualify how this thick manual came about. We just kept adding pages to it.
Probably from our parents.
Exactly. And there is a lot of intergenerational kind of inheritance. Like I say, you learn a lot of these things through osmosis, right? And we just take it for granted that if other people are doing this, then this is the way. So we don't think outside of the box. We just think that we have no choice. I think a lot of my clients come to coaching sessions with me and they present their problems as if they have no choice, as if life is happening to them and at them. And there's a lot of this victimhood, like, I've been backed into a corner. I can't do anything about my life. And I always tell them that is not true at all. Thinking that you have no choice, that is a choice in and of itself. That is the option that you have chosen. And your life is whatever you think it is. If you think that you have no choice, then there is no choice. You will feel trapped. But if we start to think that, hey, maybe this I have no choice thing is not even true, and how is it not true? We start to open up the conversation and possibilities, and that's where you usher in possibilities and hope. And I think hope is lacking in a lot of our lives. And once you start to see that everything in life is optional, then you go like, wow, I'm very empowered. Instead of life happening at me and to me, this is life, and I get to decide how I want to move ahead, even with a poorly dealt deck of cards. I'm not saying that, life isn't hard, right? Life is 50-50. We have 50% of the good stuff and we have 50% of the bad shit. This is just the ratio, the average, right? So bad stuff happen to good people, good things happen to bad people. You would like to think, if you want to think that life is unfair, yeah, life is unfair. It is a fact of life. Life is unfair, right? Instead of really fighting against the fact, life is unfair, and then you like 怨天尤人, and then you're just moaning and groaning and bitching, nothing changes. Then if you think life is unfair, life is unfair. But if let's say we just agree that life is 50-50, but what do you want to do about it? When something happens, when shit hits the fan, that's when your empowerment gets activated instead of being a victim. And then to answer your question, I think a big source of unhappiness is being stuck in a job that you absolutely hate and loathe. Like, you are just doing it really simply for the money to pay the bills. That is an epidemic. I would say that I coach 70 to 80% of my clients who are struggling with that, or struggling with that on top of all the other issues. Right. There's a very interesting observation that I've had. Like, clients who find it very difficult to break out of a soul-sucking day job, they usually not only experience problems and challenges in the work area, but in other areas of their life. Because the inability to break out of that mold, right, that permeates into all areas of their life, because it is a mindset. It is a way of life. So it is a way of like feeling very entrapped and back into a corner and not knowing how to break out of it, and telling yourself that I have no choice. So this I have no choice thing permeates into all areas of your life. And that is why you're stuck. A lot of people are stuck. Yeah. So I think that's a great source of unhappiness. And
so how do they then break out of that loop, that conditioning?
Okay, so what I usually tell them is that if you're already suffering, you are suffering. That's why you're coming to me, right? Nothing changes. So if you're already suffering, you know that you are not happy. But the only reason why you can't get out of it is because on some level, it is still a fair exchange for you. Like this unhappiness and misalignment and this suffering is still not painful enough when you compare it to the sense of security and safety that you get from a regular paycheck. The sense of security and safety still trumps the pain of the suffering, of the misalignment, everything. So it's a case of, let's just tolerate, let's just see how. So you kick the can further and further down the road, right? But I always tell them something very sobering. I say, you get more of whatever you tolerate. You literally will just get more of whatever you tolerate because you allow it. Tolerating means I allow in a way. Even if you feel like crap, you're allowing it, right? So the universe is just going to send you more of whatever you allow, right? Until the day where you either snap, right? Because what happens is very simple, right? Life is when there's misalignment, the universe is just going to send you a ping. It's almost like on the phone, right? Ping, a notification, right? And then it's away. It's trying to tell you, you can ignore a ping, right? Now, if you ignore a lot of pings, what's going to happen is that the phone is going to start ringing like an alarm, like ding-ding-ding-ding, ding-ding-ding-ding, ding-ding-ding, right? And it will go louder and louder and louder. Eventually, the whole phone is going to combust, right? So either you do something to preempt the inevitable, or the inevitable will have to happen for you to change your life. Because this message will just ring louder and louder and louder until you get it. It's almost like a frog being trapped in a pot of boiling water. It starts off as 1 degree Celsius, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. And if it keeps increasing, eventually you get to a boiling point and you get cooked alive without even feeling it. That's the scary bit. If we say we're going to tolerate. The luckier ones were like, oh, by 20 degrees Celsius, they say, I'm out of this pot. I don't want, because I know where I'm headed. Then the ones who are more resistant, they'll be like, oh, let's tahan. Wow, 50. Wow, still can. Wow, not boiling yet. Let's, wow, 57 degrees. Wow, still can. Wow, very uncomfortable. Okay, I'm still alive. I'm not dead, you know? Yeah. So it's, again, this I have no choice is really a lie. You do have a choice, but then it's up to you again when you want to get out of it.
And I guess a lot of this tolerating, the main source of it is wanting that sense of security. That is like one of the main sources for people, right?
But I think that people don't understand that this sense of security is a fake sense of security. It, again, the mind is a very powerful thing, right? You can see something that is actually not secure as security. The security of a regular paycheck. Now, if you really think about it, how secure is it? You are employed for someone, you can lose a job anytime. How secure is that? Right? But we would rather, the interesting thing is, other than security, it's also got to do with the security in the known versus the insecurity of the unknown. So we would rather, very interesting thing, we would rather stick with the certainty of the pain that we're familiar with than to face the scariness and the fear, okay, of uncertainty or not knowing what's going to happen. This is how the brain is built, right? So that's what keeps us wanting to stay safe and not venturing out. Until the carpet is pulled from under our feet, like you're being fired, you lose your job, or pandemic hits, you know, and then we have no choice, again, using that word, we have no choice but then to choose an alternative. But I'm like, can we all just be bolder and at least live life on our own terms and not have to wait to a point whereby somebody pulls the carpet from right under our feet before we move our ass? Is that possible? Can you do that for yourself, right? Or do you constantly want to live a life where people make decisions for you? Yeah.
I guess life, as you said just now, is not equal, right? It's not fair.
It's not fair.
And some people come from, you know, maybe toxic environments or grew up from toxic environments. How do they then still find their way to find joy? Because from, you know, just you have no choice. That one really is no choice. You come from a lesser advantageous background. How do they then try to really get out of that and find happiness for themselves?
Yeah, so I have a lot to say about this because I've been on both sides of the situation. So without getting into too much details, I was born into a family that was really super wealthy, one of the wealthiest families in Singapore. But all that changed when my dad committed white-collar crime, commercial crime, and he disappeared. He literally disappeared from our lives when I was 10 years old. And overnight, our lives really got turned upside down. We lost everything. We went from riches to rags, literally. And then we have the CID coming to my grandma's house, knocking on our door and not believing my mom when my mom told them that she didn't know where my dad went. You know, all those, we lost everything overnight. And I have been subjected to a lot of very dramatic events in my life. And I would say that I've been dealt a fair share of really interesting cards, right? And I use the word interesting because I don't have a victim mentality. I don't feel like I've been dealt bad cards. I feel that they are interesting cards, right? And to some people, that's like a fucking bad card. Oh, sorry, can I swear? Like,
You go ahead, man.
Like
Non-PG channel.
Yes, like really, really bad cards. But to me, I felt like, okay, these are interesting cards, and I get to decide what I want to do with these cards, right? I get to decide if this is a bad card or interesting card. Another thing was, I think over dinner last night, I shared with details about my meltdown 11 years ago. That was also an interesting card that I was dealt.
Very
Yes.
interesting. I've never heard of.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a bad card? To some people, it's like, oh my God, I had a depressive, anxiety-ridden episode that created a meltdown, and you have to be on meds. You know, you lost so much in an instance, you know, and you have to be in recovery mode for 6 months. And I had speech problems, I had speech impediment, and I was incontinent, I was wetting my beds, you know. I lost my basic motor functioning skills. That was an interesting card. I didn't say that it was a bad card. And I'm not sure if you remember last night I said, but that was the fucking best thing that happened to me.
Yeah.
What was really traumatic and life-changing and dramatic turned out to be the best thing that happened to me, like my dad leaving us, right? So I think there's a lot of power in us, in alchemy. Like when we meet something that is unfortunate, or even if it's a series of really unfortunate events in our life, our biggest power is we get to decide what we want to do with it. Now what? And now what? Yeah? Okay? Bad cut. And now what? So now what? And our power lies in that future-focused direction and not in always replaying and looking at the back. You know, what has happened, and replaying it 1,000,000, 1,000 times about who said what, who did this to me, who did that. Then you'll be stuck in what's already happened. There's no point. So that's why when my clients come to me with a lot of dramatic events in their life, I will say, okay, I will give you 5 minutes and let's throw the fucking best PT party together. I will bring the pom-poms, I will blow the balloons, I will throw the confetti, and we will put on the loud music, and we will cry, and we will moan, and we will bitch, and we will roll on the floor, and we will throw tantrums. But please, after 5 minutes, let's start talking about what's next for you.
That's a very good exercise.
It is, right? Because you know what? If you allow, again using the word, whatever you tolerate, if you allow and tolerate the tantrums and the victimhood and the rolling on the floor and you know, like little kids, right? You want to do this, and if you, let's say for example, people who are so angry by the people they've been betrayed by in life, betrayal lah, backstabbing lah, or being lied to lah, or like other half committing adultery lah, all those, they can't let go of it. They hold on to that grudge and that pain and that suffering. And if you allow and tolerate that, you can carry this until the day you die, right? And I always tell another thing that quickly reframes my clients' minds and mindset is I always tell them that, yes, even if they would like to tell me, but then you don't understand, but you know, she said this, she did that to me, and oh my God, it's fucking unfair, I'm so triggered, I'm so annoyed, I'm so sad, I'm so angry, okay? Tell me all the reasons. When I want them to move forward, they can't, they keep bringing the story back, right? I will always tell them, I say, okay, now, even if I agree with you, okay, even if you have the best reasons, okay, let's just agree. What you're doing is you're finding the best reason for you to continue to feel bad. So what? So what? Even if I give you 500 gold stars and I agree with you that what happened to you was so terrible, right? It's so unfortunate. That person was a fucker, shouldn't have done this to you. You know, life is so unfair, right? Okay, we have all the reasons. Okay, we all agree. Okay, the whole world agrees with you.
Then what?
Yeah, then what?
Then what?
Right? And if you keep thinking about how all these reasons validate how you're feeling right now, that anger, that sense of suffering, you're finding excellent reasons for you to continue to feel bad. And what's that costing you at the end of the day? So a lot of people sometimes feed that ego side of themselves to sustain that feeling of, because it hurts. So they need to find validation for that feeling. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, people already move on already. You think people sit there and think about you? No. right? Somehow you think that if you think hard enough and you suffer enough, the other person is going to, by some way, feel your anger. No, right? You are the one that's feeling all this terrible stuff. Who's feeling it? Not the other person. And sometimes people forget. And they hold on to this hate and anger for the rest of their lives until the day they'll die. And that's a very, very poor way to spend our precious time. You know, TikTok, every minute counts.
Yes.
Right? And don't squander your life away like that, suffering. Right? Finding a good way to suffer. Finding all the great reasons to continue to suffer. Why do we do this shit to ourselves?
I think it's just natural, like human nature to dwell on negative things. Something good happens and then something negative happens, then we just dwell and dwell and dwell.
Exactly.
It's tough.
Exactly.
And so I would say, coming from a city like Singapore, hustle, bustle, right? Do you think it's just harder to find contentment in simple things in life and happiness?
I think it's hard, but it is what will ultimately free us. Like this thing that we are searching for, it is inevitable. I think eventually we will get there. It's just whether it takes a very long time or can we get there as quickly as possible. So that's why I think I've experienced a lot in my life. Like I have a lot of plot twists in my life. You know, ups and downs and everything. And I feel that my mission right now, and you know, the message that I'm trying to share with people really is, 卖涂料了，不要浪费时间了，你们快一点. There's a sense of urgency, you know. And I want to hurry people along because I'm like, I can show you the shortcuts. But then I also realize that some people really, it doesn't matter what you tell them. And also based on the human design, some people really don't take well to learning lessons from other people. They have to learn lessons from their own life. So I always like to say they have to 弄表戏 first. Then they will feel the ouch. Then they will feel, oh my God, this is really true, right? Some people just need to try and error. But my wish is for people to don't squander precious time away for a lesson that they can be very quickly learn. And really, really, if we just stop for a minute and we tune into our own bodily intelligence, the answers are already there already. You know if you're truly happy or not. You know if you're brutally honest or not, if this is something that you can do for the rest of your lives or not. You know, we know. But what's keeping us stuck really is this disconnection with this feeling, but we're listening to the voices and the noise here. That's what's keeping us stuck. Because every time our heart yearns for something, we have a desire and we want to do it, the brain always says, but that's not practical. But that's not logical. But that's not safe. So this is keeping us from assessing what we truly want, right? And also because, like you say, in Singapore, I think we don't have enough demonstrations of the alternative kind of lifestyle. So people don't know that there are alternatives. But I think that it's beginning. I think with the new generation, structures are going to be demolished. You know, what used to work very, very well for the previous generations up until now, it's going to go away. Structures are going to go away. We're going to tune more into what works for us on an individual level. Individualization is, I think, a natural occurrence and a movement that we cannot stop. It's just a case of how fast it's going to happen. And on some level, you're already seeing it. You know, like at Lito and Lito Academy, we attract a lot of people who felt really... They felt like misfits in society, and they also felt very out of place. But they are those people who have the fortune and the blessing to hear the inner voice louder than most people. So then they have been on this quest of what other alternatives are there. I mean, in a way, you are someone who has lived a creative life in a way that's quite alternative, you know, compared to all your other peers. Yeah, but why is that you did this from day one? From the moment you came out to society to work, it's because the pain and suffering that you imagine that you are going to go through if you use other people's way of living scares the shit out of you. That you would rather do this and just painstakingly grow a career this way. Because you could have done what's easy for like other people, right? Get a corporate job, get the highest paying paycheck, you know, it be in a soul-sucking day job, and then have a kind of a semblance of a good lifestyle, but then you feel empty here.
Yes.
But for you, you know that is a fucking bad trade-off from day one.
I'm lucky enough to have that sense.
That's why.
Really.
That's why.
And although there are a lot of trade-offs, right? Like I don't have colleagues to hang out. I'm mostly working by myself, so sometimes it can be very isolating.
Lonely, yeah.
Very lonely.
Yeah.
No one's there to support you. If you die, you die.
Yes,
kind of feeling.
yes.
No one's going to like, are you okay or not? You just crumble
You
off.
feel like you're very much on your own.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which sucks, but at the same time, I'm not going to trade this for anything else.
Because the other route is scarier for you.
Yes.
Even scarier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, of course, there are ways to, I guess, mitigate that and to try to.
I'm very proud of you, really. And I really feel that we need more examples like this of what is possible. We need this demonstration. And I think that's what we're trying to promote and build and encourage through whatever we create at Lito, our academy. That's the message. That's the quintessential message that we're putting out. Like, there are infinite possibilities out there, and you know what is it that you truly want. You just need to be bold and courageous enough to do that. Instead of defying yourself, it's almost like a self-betrayal, right? If we opt for a route that has been laid out for other people but not for us, but we say, okay, this is safer, let's just do that. But it is a form of self-betrayal, right? And that sense of misery and bitterness and frustration actually stems from that, a self-betrayal, right? But for you, some days might be tough, when you have no jobs or whatever, but then there's this sense of congruence, right? Energetic congruence and alignment. And how much will you pay for that? So there's the other kind of formula that I always walk my clients through, which is I say, okay, what is the paycheck now? Okay, and then I say you're suffering, right? I say, how much will you pay for someone to take away all this suffering for you, right? So some people will say, oh, my paycheck is 4,500, right? Then when I say, how much will you pay for someone to remove all this pain? Then I say about maybe 6,000, 7,000. Then I say, okay. Then I said, okay, you take the 4,500, right? And you minus the $6,000 to $7,000. You are not taking a paycheck, You are paying your company. It's a net loss every month, right? But for us, okay, let's say we maybe on average on a year, right? Month to month, we make like maybe 2,500 or 2,000, maybe even 1,500, right? I mean, it's very modest, humble amount of money. It's not a lot, actually, very difficult to survive in Singapore. But if you really, really put a price tag on the sense of freedom, the sense of autonomy, a sense of flexibility, a sense of energetic congruence, a sense of vibrancy and passion when you wake up. Of course, there is that sense of when you wake up, nervousness, anxiety, fear, and whatever, uncertainty, of course, right? But you add all of that up, I'm sure you take home more than 1,500 or 2,000. In fact, you take home a pretty fat paycheck. How much would you pay for the intangibles? That at the end of the day is what the people, after they are miserable in their day job and they get paid a big paycheck, they spend all that money to chase. But then no, if you align yourself from day one, you have all the things, you don't have to chase anything because it's already built into your way of life, way of making living. Right? So for me, actually, I don't even need to travel because every day I wake up, I feel so fulfilled. So now when I travel, I make sure that it is because I really, really want to travel instead of traveling to escape. I don't have to escape anything. If I don't travel for another day in my life, I'm fine. Because I feel like every day I'm traveling. Right? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, wow. That's amazing because I think a lot of people travel to escape.
Yes.
And to be able to say that means you're on that level of really at peace and calm that you don't need anything else.
Yeah, it's a feeling of sufficiency, right? Yeah. And a feeling of sufficiency means that you don't lack anything. And a feeling of sufficiency has to come from pure alignment and respecting and honoring your desires and your wishes and what you truly want, against all odds. Yes.
And so then lastly, I guess, what kind of advice will you give? Like a very simple advice on how people just can be happier with their lives.
Okay, very simple. There's so many. Oh my God, there's so many. Please go and listen to the Lito podcast. We have so many classes, right? But I think if we, what's coming up to me right now that I can share is that it's very simple. Do more of what lights you up and do less of what you don't like. It's very simple. And just keep trying new things. If let's say you say, okay, Dan, but I don't know what I like, I don't know what I don't like. I'm like, then start doing a bunch of things, throwing a bunch of spaghetti on the wall and see what works, what sticks or not. Right? It's very simple. Do a life audit. What are you doing right now? Okay, you like to do these things, do more of it, okay? You don't like these things are painful, reduce it or stop doing it altogether. And I tell you, if you do a life audit, you will realize that that probably, if you've never done one before, you probably have a long list of things that you don't like to do, but you're doing it. Then you ask yourself, why the fuck are you doing it? Do you really have no choice? That's not true, right? Yeah. I'm going to say something rather controversial, right? I have some clients will tell me, like moms, right? They'll come to me and say, I have no choice because I'm a mom. I need to take care of my kids, right? And I say, that's a lie. You have a choice. You can don't take care of the kids. And they're like, then they really like, kazu, they're like, cannot compute. What do you mean I can be a mom that don't take care of my kids? I say, let's not be judgmental here. I'm not talking about whether you're a good mom or bad, okay? Nothing. But let's talk about just it being a choice. Can we find examples of parents that don't take care of the kids? Yeah. 生了孩子就把他丢在那个厕所里面. That is their choice. These things exist in the world, right? But 他说 but 我做不下去. I say, yeah, but that's because 你做不下去. You have chosen to not do it. So you have chosen not to do it. You have made a choice. Don't tell me you have no choice. You have made a choice. You are very powerful. And you made a choice even though it felt so hard. You made a choice. So they go like, oh, yeah, I actually made a choice to be a good mom. Even though there are so many reasons why I actually could have chosen to forsake my kids. But I've chosen to be a good mom. And I said, there you go. Don't kind of tell me you have no choice. You have chosen. You are powerful. Right? So I think my encouragement to everyone who is watching this is that you are very, very powerful. You can make choices. Everything is optional. Everything is optional. Everything that you think right now that is true, that is an optional thought. We have to start challenging whatever is in our brains right now. And really, do more of what lights you up. Do less of what brings you suffering. Simple.
So the bottom line is you always have a choice.
We always have a choice. You see, even those prisoners of war, not that have been one, but we have read very, very heroic accounts of people who even in very dire situations and circumstances and environment, prisoners of war, their heart is one that's filled with patriotism and love for family, for country, and they would never betray, even though they have been subject to physical abuse, right? That is a choice.
That's powerful. Wow. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks for having me.
Wow, this is like a podcast, man.
Yes! We were supposed to have a casual talk, but
I want to take like, small bits of it, small bits,
Yeah.
Became a podcast.
Yeah, 我觉得你会很难剪这集.
Maybe I'll just like, leave the whole cut for like just an episode with this whole entire thing.
Maybe you take whatever you want to take and do with it. But it's great chatting here. And I wish you all the best.
Thank
and
you,
加油.
man.
And please don't feel alone. Please don't feel like you're fighting this alone. I mean, we have a community now.
Yes. And yes, I hope this has been really, really useful. Again, it's not the usual type of videos that I do, but let me know about what you think about this video, in the comment section, how you feel about life and how you feel about happiness in general. I think it will be very interesting to know about your insights. Don't forget to subscribe for more adventures, be bold, and keep exploring. Peace.